we go. Are we good? Yeah, I think I'm live. I see my voice going on OBS for a minute. And we're just going to get started in just a minute. Just getting set up. Alright, so, welcome back to another day of Umineko. Got really nothing much to do today, so just going to sit here, relax, stream with you guys. Again, kind of been playing on my own. We're a little bit further in Act 3, so I haven't gotten too much further than that. But for today, we're going to go ahead and jump to Episode 1. Where we're just having a nice little family dinner. I think, no, this is lunch. We're having a lunch with our family. A nice lunch where nothing bad, no stress. It's just family quabbles and, you know, occasional pokes here and there. Let's see if I can get in the mood for this with sophisticated music. That is because you were the most talented of the applicants. The decision was purely objective, not based on personal feelings, so there is no need to thank me. I think that was Natsui talking. Dang, why does Aunt Natsui always sound so different? If only she spoke with a bit more kindness, she might leave a different impression. Shannon-kun, Chan, and Kamasawa-san into the hallway with the serving car. Please excuse us. Now then, let us move to today's desserts. Goto-san and the others laid a beautifully adorned dessert in front of all of us. I guess it's true what they say, you have another stomach for dessert. It's as though I'm already filled in the delicious food, but as soon as I laid eyes on that dessert, my stomach started yelling, more! I don't know much about desserts, but this one looked really good. A white pudding-like substance was garnished with 2 shades of red sauce. An elegant rose petals adorned dish. Normally, during a high-class meal like this, you're supposed to wait for a chef to extol the virtues of this particular meal before eating. However, Maria was completely indifferent to strict rules like that. She got so excited by this beautiful and delicious-looking dessert, jumping into the fray as soon as it was placed in front of her. Aunt Rosa scolded her, calling it bad manners, but George responded by saying, now, it's okay. This part's sour. This part's sour. Battler, this one's no good. Maria explained as she sampled the 2 colored sauces. What? Some are good and some bad? Okay, I'll give it a go. Apparently one sauce was sweet, and the other sour. Despite it being bad manners, I also stuck a little finger in it and licked it. Oh, sauces were sour enough to make you pucker up. If it were yellow, I'd have suspected lemon, but I couldn't guess what kind of sourness would be red. I decided to ask Shannon, who was putting away the serving cart beside us. Shannon-chan, what kind of sauce is this sour stuff? Shannon-chan hesitated. Making her job was to set the table, so she didn't really know. Still, even considering that, she seemed pretty stressed. Maybe I shouldn't have asked? Or they used some ingredient that you're better off not knowing about. While Aunt Natsui made a gesture that seemed to indicate an oncoming headache, Kamasawa-san, who had settled at the table on the opposite seat, began to chuckle. What do you think we made it out of? It'll shock you. I don't have a clue. Wait a second. Kumasawa-san. That laugh's pretty creepy. So, what is it? Don't tell anyone, okay? Listen very carefully. Kamasawa-san leaned in across from the other side of the table. I leaned forward myself when she asked. That interest caught George, Jessica, George Anaki, and of course, Maria also put their ears closer. Oh? What? What? Quickly! Quickly! You see, the sour part is made of juice squeezed from a mackerel. What? Mackerel? That's crazy, we all thought, horrified. Only Maria accepted it, nodding sagely. Oh, mackerels are sour. This is what comes out when you squeeze them. When Maria started clamoring that mackerel was sour, the adults were unable to contain their laughter. Only Aunt Rosa, whose face red, whispered to Maria that mackerel is sour only once prepared as shimisaba. Ah, now I totally remember. Kamasawa-san was always like this, wasn't she? I think I remember her tricking me too in all sorts of ways when I was young. The most lethal has got to be that one. Those flimsy black things in Chinese dishes. They're kagaragi mushrooms. She told me they were penguin meat, and I went all around school like some smartass telling everyone, didn't I? Kumasawa-bachan, you sure haven't changed. I know, you know Maria's gonna believe it now, right? It's just a joke. Now Goda-san's going to tell us what the sauce really is, won't he? Goda looked a little put off about his masterpiece being laughed at by such a bizarre reason, but after clearing his throat once, he introduced the dessert to us. Well then, allow me to introduce our dessert. After seeing how much you all enjoyed the rose garden earlier today, I finished this panna cotta in a rose garden style. The rose petals scattered across were selected from front of it, that very rose garden. The sauce is a combination of two reds, strawberry and rose hips. Please enjoy this mixture of the strawberry sweetness and the rose hips sourness. Furthermore, the rose petals are merely decorative, so please avoid them while you eat. With that said, please enjoy. Oh, man, I almost want to applaud before eating. Just like with medicine, reading the detailed descriptions first seemed to make it work a whole lot better. As Goda-san elaborated on the details of this dessert, it started to feel even more appetizing. Seriously, should you call him subtle or just talented? Seriously though, the dessert was probably planned from the beginning, and taking the hint that we all stopped in front of the rose garden earlier today. He displayed an incredible and timely awareness just by adding a few rose petals from that garden. The combinations of sweet and sour were also exquisite. If it was just sweet, you'd just get used to it and bored halfway through. But if you reach the sour sauce at that point, you get a really vivid taste. And then, once you return to the sweet sauce, all the sourness in your mouth will be replaced with an enjoyable sweetness. I'm sure everyone else felt the same way. Every time Goda-san pressed by one of our seats, someone praised the table in his presentation. How is it, madame? Splendid, as always. It is worthy of entertaining our guests. I am most grateful for your words. Madame, did you know? I have heard that rosehip has the ability to cure headaches. I thought that you in particular would appreciate it, so I had it especially prepared. Is that so? Thank you. See? Didn't I tell you, Natsui-ni-san? Rosehip is great for headaches. So it seems. I do hope it actually helps. Ha! Goda-san, I love ya. Hey, later on, why don't you tell me how you got why don't you tell me how they're treating you? If you can't, let me know what sort of salary you'd like. Having your talent confined to this small island is a sacrilege to humanity's cooking culture. What do you think about working your craft for my company and delighting all of our customers? Hideyoshi-san, are you trying to steal away our Goda? Well, that won't do at all. We better start treating Goda better. I'll get snatched up. Yes, you really should. If you don't, someone's gonna grab him and you'll be stuck with 3 meals of Kamasawa's mackerel cooking a day, won't you? That's harsh. It seems someone's holding a grudge against me. Everyone let out a huge laugh. According to Jessica, Kamasawa-san's mackerel jokes were a running gag that her parents had long since gotten used to. Kumasawa-san often claimed that mackerels had precious nutritional value, which could slow aging and make people smarter and more. Supposedly, while it couldn't help the outward signs of aging, it would help prevent it on the inside. Since we're still spirited enough to tell these kind of jokes at her age, that must be something to the theory. In that case, if you'll excuse me, prepare yourself for tonight's dinner. I'll be cooking plenty of mackerel dishes for you all, so you better look forward to it. We sure will. Can't wait to get all puckered up from tonight's shimimi saba. That sounds wonderful. I wonder if they'll be serving any good Japanese sake. Oh, we certainly will. Haven't you heard of Rokojima's famous mackerel soju? Kawasawa-san, together with Shannon-chan, bowed and pushed the serving cart away. It's pretty funny to watch Goda-san, who looked like his show had been totally stolen, explain in a serious voice that we'll be having calf steak for dinner. Kumasawa-san, thanks for doing that back there. As she pushed the serving cart, Shannon bowed her head very deeply. I haven't done I haven't done anything that requires thanks. Kumasawa may have played dumb, but she had obviously understood and saved Shannon in the nick of time. Back when Battler had asked her about the dessert, Shannon had unfortunately hesitated. There may be several ways to dodge the question, but all of them should have required quick wits. Shannon, who hesitated when hard pressed for a response, always suffered because of this small weakness. If only Shannon had a little bit of craftiness needed to cleverly shake off a mistake like Goda, her life would have been a little bit easier. The fact that she could perform the test flawlessly made her weakness even more unfortunate. However, there are some who understood Shannon's honest nature, her inability to gloss over a mistake and pay attention and draw attention away from it. That is why Kumasawa had smoothly come to her rescue. I just heard from Genji that there will be a change in the afternoon shifts. I believe you were given a break until this evening. I'm jealous. Huh? Oh, sorry, I haven't checked the shift chart yet. Ah, yes. I was thinking I might start cooking some mackerel in the oven. If you don't mind, I would be happy if you help out a bit before your break. Yes, I'd be delighted to help. To Shannon, Kumasawa was like a mother among the servants. The dining hall needed to be cleaned up, so we were chased out. Instead, tea was being served in the parlor. Apparently, they prepared the black tea that Aunt Rosa had brought for Aunt Natsui. Maria said she wanted to have some black tea, but the old bastard said she couldn't and told us children to go play outside. Batlakun, why don't we go for a walk outside? Go ahead and take a look at the roses or something. But keep a close eye on the weather. The sky's still clear, but the weather report kept on talking about rain. Oh, I want to go to the beach. The beach! Oh, that sounds wonderful. Playing on the sandy beach isn't something you get to do often, is it? Ah, good point. Okay, let's all go to the beach then. Oh, let's go, let's go! Maria, be careful not to get your clothes wet. Or your shoes. Oh, won't get wet. That obedience is so cute. Batlakun, make sure you keep an eye out for Maria-chan, okay? Sure, leave it to me. Hey, you're pretty obedient and cute yourself, listen to Krie like that. Why don't you also listen to me obediently for a change? Ha! Hell no! Let's go, everyone, come on. The children flew out of the parlor. They were replaced by Genji, who was pushing a serving cart and prepared to serve the tea. The parlor was filled with a sublime aura which delighted everyone while they waited to sate their thirst. Rudolph's family certainly seems close. It's a wonderful thing. Quit it. We're no match for your family, Anaki. That's true. You've raised Jessica to be so adorable. I imagine that's yet another fruit of your talents at education and training, Natsui-Nisan. Thank you, Natsui answered coldly. The conversation broke off then, and the parlor fell silent. Maybe Hideyoshi couldn't bear the silence because he broke it himself with an exaggerated gesture. Still, they sure do grow fast. I thought they'd be kids forever, but they start getting huge all of a sudden, and then they're adults like us. Batlakun looks like a completely different person now. His body has grown bigger, but he's still just a kid. You could say the same about my husband. I wonder where the border between child and adult is. I still don't feel as I've grown up. Isn't it pitiful? That's not something the mother of a child should say. That's right. We're not children anymore. We're all adults now. So I wish we could talk together on an intellectual level rather than an emotional one. Oh, that tone shift. Oh, that tone shift is so fucked up. Okay, when the music suddenly changes, it it's something to pay attention to because it's just like one line just changes the entire dynamic of what the fuck is going on. When Ava smiled with sharp sarcasm, everyone seemed to get more tense. It felt as though pleasant tea aroma had been tossed out the window. Since long ago, we've always endeavored to engage in intellectual conversations. It seems your sarcasm occasionally misses its mark, just as it always has. Oh, and what has you always endeavored to do? My. I wish I could wrap those words up and send them to this room a few decades ago. Right, Rosa? Rosa gave a vague smile. She knew that, whether she agreed or disagreed, she'd earned the displeasure of one of her siblings. It was a bit of worldly wisdom that had been essential for someone growing up as a younger sibling. Quit it, Anaki. Better get started on our main topic while the brats aren't around. Let's make that our intellectual discussion. As Rudolph glanced over the faces of all present, some let out a slight sigh, and some let out a small look of resignation across their face. They were approaching their unavoidable, true agenda. Last year, his life expectancy was at about 3 months, which I guess means he's got negative 9 months left now. Should we take that to mean it might suddenly happen at any time? The family head is still alive and well. The fact that you bring up such an inappropriate topic under the light of day makes me doubt your sanity, Rudolph-san. Still, Natsui-san, this is the sort of thing you can't put off until after something happens. He's still healthy now, which makes it the perfect time to talk about this, while we still got time to plan. It's just a bit of financial etiquette, you might say. It seems father is the focus of everyone's concern. Dr. Nanjo, could we hear the details from you? That appears to be what everyone is waiting for, after all. Nanjo, who had been standing by the window and staring out at the rose garden, let out a single cough when he realized he had been called. Dr. Nanjo, how is father's condition? Well, to begin, allow me to start with a revision. Since my estimate last year that he had only 3 months left was not borne out, no need to explain. You're saying that measuring life is only a prediction, not a promise, right? That is correct. Because of that, while I will accept everyone's repeated questions, I can by no means confirm when he will pass away. A human's life is supported by their body and their mind. If the body is weak, the situation becomes more dangerous, but if the mind is strong enough to compensate for that weakness, the effect of one's condition sometimes remain in a subdued state. So you're saying that even though his body is weak, his mind is still firm and spirited? Prie, sorry, but please stay quiet for a bit. I'm sorry. That is correct. Kenzo-san's body is being overwhelmed by the demon of ill health. This will hold especially true as long as he continues to partake of such strong alcohol. So he's in a crisis now because he drinks. And maybe he lived this long because he drinks. That's dad for you, the heavy drinker. Well then, doctor, I know you can't give anything more than a prediction. What do you think about father's chances of living until this day next year? It's quite a rude question to ask about the family head. Natsui jumped on Ava, not even bothering to hide her astonished expression. Ava stared back daringly, but Hideyoshi realized what was going on and tried to smooth things over with a forced smile. Natsui-san, forgive her. Ava, choose your words a bit more carefully, please. I'm sorry. I was just so concerned about father's condition. Is that so? I hadn't realized. Dr. Nanjo, please tell us. For the sake of the beautiful love of the daughter worried about her father's... Okay, I need to reread that again. Sometimes, like, I need something where all the text comes out at once. Because when it's slowly crawling out, what's happening is my brain is reading it too fast, and I catch up to where the lines are coming out, and so it throws me off. I can't read it properly. So, or maybe I could just be patient. It doesn't take that long for all the words to be on the page, but whatever, fuck it. Dr. Nanjo, please tell us, for the sake of a beautiful love of a daughter worried about her father's lifespan. Proust laughed sarcastically, and Ava smiled sweetly, returning an identical chuckle. You ask whether he'll still be healthy next year? But as a doctor, it is very hard to say. Because while I do think this lull in his condition will continue for a while, if he suffers some kind of fit, there will be nothing we can do. After all, Rokonjima is a solitary island. It is not as though an ambulance can quickly jump to save him. Normally I'd want to have him placed in a large hospital on the mainland, but... Father stated he doesn't want his noble research interrupted. Seems he holds a grudge over the way we tried to force him out last year. Apparently, he strongly suspects it will be shut away in some hospital if he goes outside. And that's how things are now. Has Dr. Nanjo been examining him? Father trusts Dr. Nanjo. It seems he can be examined when he is in one of his better moods. I can examine his condition, but if I try to recommend medicine or hospitalization, he refuses to listen. I've really only been able to look. It's true, some people hate doctors. Still, what a hassle. Nanjo sighed deeply. The purpose of an examination is to determine what medical treatment would be appropriate. Receiving an examination and not following the advice given makes the whole thing pointless. So to sum it up, he's still expected to live 3 months. There's no way to guess how long he'll continue to live while still on the verge of death. Rudolph-san, couldn't you be a little more discreet with your words? Sorry. I've always talked this way. Give me a break. I understand how Dr. Nanjo sees it. What about you, Krasny-san? To be perfectly honest, I have to disagree with Dr. Nanjo. I find it truly difficult to think of his father as a person so sick that he'd have only 3 months to live. His yell is as healthy as ever, and I get chills at the thought of his fists raining down on me. Pushing the care of your father solely on the shoulders of the eldest sibling is far from fair. And the next world get born after me. Okay, let's get back on track. So in the opinion of our impartial and neutral doctor, it wouldn't be odd for him to go any time. No offense to you, Anaki, but I'd rather trust the opinion of an expert in his field. Which means it's definitely not too early to start talking about Dad's assets. Father's personal funds probably reach as high as several 10 billion yen, right? But it's not as though all neatly gathered as ready cash. It's not as simple as simply cutting a birthday cake with a knife. That's an interesting way of putting it. That's right. You sometimes get strawberries or chocolate on top of the cake, making it hard to cleanly cut it into equal parts. Given that, don't you think it's important to discuss beforehand how to be best to stick the knife in? Maybe in family members? Yoink yoink. Hint hint, nudge nudge. Stick it in a family member, you get a bigger slice of cake. Is that what they're really already setting up to be? I cannot understand how you can openly discuss this as though the family head is dead even though he's still alive. Come now, don't you see how important this is? After all, when the time comes, the inheritance of his fortune must be carried out immediately, right? Moreover, the glorious Yoshiramiya house wealth is vast. Don't you understand that careful discussion is necessary beforehand? There's a huge difference between this family's resources and your family's wealth. How rude! My birth family has nothing to do with this. Natsui responded indignantly through a low voice, and the already dark atmosphere grew even more hostile. Give it a rest, Ava. Natsui-san, forgive us. Pardon her rudeness. Hideyoshi tried to smooth things over by glaring at both with a forced smile, but it only resulted in making the hostility between Ava and Natsui even more intense. It seems I'll just get in the way if I stay any longer. Please excuse me. Nanjo rose from his seat and exited the parlor. To an outsider, it may seem like a normal act of courtesy, but his back was watched by several glances envious of his ability to escape. After the doctor had exited and his footsteps had disappeared into the distance, Kraus recrossed his legs. In other words, this is what you'd all like to say. Father's remaining life is short. You want to quickly enter the practical conference concerning the distribution of the inheritance. Why are you so eager, I wonder? Certainly, as you say, estimating and distributing the Yoshiomiya family wealth is no simple task. In that case, shouldn't we be careful in deliberate calculations? It seems to me we're all impatient to split up the cake tonight. Isn't it true, Rosa? What reason is there to be so hasty? We aren't being hasty. However, we need to have an agreement between the siblings. It doesn't matter when we do it, but if the day Father's condition is approaching, discussing the matter beforehand hardly seems hasty to me. Rosa shot a glance at Ava and Rudolph. As the youngest sibling in the family, it was hard for her to be cross-examined by the eldest. Oh, is that your true opinion? I didn't expect that most honest and pure-hearted of the siblings would say something like that. I wonder if those two told you to say it. Quit it, Anaki. Rose is one of Dad's kids too. She's got as much right to his inheritance as the rest of us. It's only natural she'd be interested. After all, That'll definitely die, and that's not something that'll happen in the distant future. On the contrary, Aniki, you're way too relaxed. It almost seems like you'd like nothing better to turn the discussion away from the inheritance issue. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to accuse my husband of something? Calm down, Natsui-san. Listen to what we have to say. Nii-san, I heard the times have been extremely good lately. Yes, since last year we've been in an unprecedented boom and the yen keeps on rising. One second. Okay. Nii-san, I hear the times have been extremely good lately. Yes, since last year we've been in an unprecedented boom and the yen keeps on rising. It seems that it is no longer a dream that the dollar will reach 100 yen. Also, the ruling party says it's established a health resource maintenance law by next year. At the moment, resort development companies across Japan are running about trying to gather as much funding as they can. You certainly seem to know a lot about it. Japan is about to experience an unprecedented boom. It'll be a repeat of the Korean War demands, this time in which father revived the Hiroshima famine. The people of Japan have been working like mad, achieving vast economic growth and becoming the most well-off people in the world, reaching the height of our prosperity. We reach an era where private spending is vast, which makes easy money for institutions that can capitalize on that fact. The three kinds of electrical appliances are no longer represent the people's needs. The people need ski resorts, golf courses, public pools, resort hotels, and theme parks. Have you gone to Disneyland, which opened just a few years ago? But an excellent theme park. It's a place where even an adult can be a kid and have fun with his family. No longer do we count our sole virtue to be selfless devotion while failing to care for our families. We have become the most prosperous people in the world, and now we can finally enjoy the benefits. Kraus-san, your foresight is nothing to sneeze at. When I heard that sort of thing several years ago, I thought it was crazy. But when I heard about the G5 National Plaza Accord, that all changed. The yen shut up, and the price of land skyrockets soon enough too. It won't be too long before Japan becomes an economic center of the world. We've got a great sense of direction in the world's moving, Cross-on. At least there can be no debate about that. I feel the same as Hideyoshi-san. Annika, you can read into the next decade of history. I bet you got that keen sense from Dad. It's incredible. However, unlike Dad, the timing of your predictions has been a bit off sometimes, right? Nissan, you've been starting resort projects everywhere, convinced that Japan will soon see a boom, and almost all of them continue to fail. While I'm sure the era you predicted would soon arrive, it seems you misread the timing of that boom. You were too early. You didn't panic and tried to sell everything off, which only opened the wound even further. If your nose was really so reliable, there should be no reason for you to sell off your property. Isn't this proof that you mistrust your own ability? How rude. Are you trying to insult my husband? Natsui's forehead creased as she rose from the sofa. Ava, paying this no heed, stared at Kraus with a confident smile. Kraus, who also maintained his confident appearance, told Natsui to sit down. Please, stop, Natsui. Ava's always been incapable of talking any other way. Calm down a little, or your headache will get worse. There's proof of your lack of talent right next to us. After all, Nissan, weren't you all excited about turning this island into a resort? You built a wonderful resort hotel and maintained beautifully maintained a garden. I'm just an amateur and don't pretend to understand, but you must have used a significant amount of money for that, right? And what is that to you? My husband's business is none of yours. Actually, that's not true, Natsui-san. Rokunjima doesn't belong to Aniki. It belongs to Dad. Of course, the hotel does belong to Aniki, right? In fact, we'd be more than willing to pay lodging fees for tonight. What do you think, Rosa? Well, if what I have on hand will suffice. If I can make it into a resort, this island's financial worth will rise. It's true the expenses have piled up. We expect a large harvest in the future. When that happens, all of you will stand to profit as well, do you not? I understand that. If the value of this island rises, that'll increase our portions when we distribute the inheritance. Of course, I won't ask you to divide the island and the mansion into 4 equal parts. We could just resolve the matter with money equal to the value of the property. If you understand that much, what about my business makes you so dissatisfied? We aren't dissatisfied. We're uneasy. In the first place, Aniki, when do you plan to open that hotel? Left this way, you won't get anything out of it except our grubby handprints, right? That's right. It's an important tool for your business, isn't it? Surely you can't keep it locked up until the moment you open it. Buildings go bad if you don't use them, and air them out every once in a while. And so it's a bit extravagant for a guest house that we only use once a year. Right, Rosa? That's right. Considering how wonderful it is, I'm sure it'll be quite popular once you open it. So the hotel you keep talking about is the guest house. It's splendid. Just as Rosa said, if you were to open it, sure it would become popular. The lodging they have guided to wasn't originally intended to serve as a guest house. It's originally constructed as a resort hotel. However, even though it built 2 years previously, there's still absolutely no prospect of it opening. Nissan, is it all just... It's just like all your enterprises. Your attention and planning are both fabulous. It always becomes unmaintainable partway through and ends up being before you have a chance to earn any profit. You were brilliant when you saw us using this island. You were brilliant when you saw that using this island only as a place to live was a waste. I think it was a pretty good plan to turn it into a resort that could use the prospect of marine sports, fishing, honeymoons, and like to attract customers. If I were the oldest son, I'd sure have strained my brain looking for a way to make a profit off this island. But 2 full years have passed since you filled this finished building, right? After 2 years, you still haven't had the opportunity to open it. Where's the managing company you trusted it to? Impertinence! That is not my husband's fault. There's just been some trouble with the company my husband contracted with. No matter how you look at it, we're the victims here. And yet, from rumors we heard about this company you hired, haven't been good at all. Let's be clear about this, dear. Did you really think we wouldn't hear about how lack of payment, embezzlement, and other issues led to project's disintegration mid-flight? We even have evidence. I don't know what kind of evidence you think you found, but it's all baseless. As new members in the tourism industry, it is necessary for us to lay out the groundwork with various people. It's also important to investigate the trustworthiness of our partners. It's merely taken us some time to meet that goal. I will admit, in my rashness, my hotel was completed too early. However, it's not as though we're paying maintenance costs. It's a foundation that will eventually become immensely significant. Liar. I bet you want to liquidate it, but can't. After all, there's no reason for anyone to buy such an extravagant hotel on an isolated, empty island without any establishment sightseeing routes. And anyway, what about all the loans you made for this project? Maybe you weren't accruing maintenance costs. The borrowed money that you can't return just keeps growing. Sorry, Krasny-san, but I've investigated a development plan for this island for a bit. To be honest, I haven't heard anything good either. Hideyoshi-san, I could see how you might be left the impression by only looking at the current financial situation. However, this is a forward-looking investment. I have no choice but to admit my prediction was mistaken, but that, up until now, several liabilities have been created. However, the times have finally caught up with me. I will soon regain everything that was lost up to this point. No, actually, all the investments I have made up until now will finally return to my possessions. That's right. Like throwing away a small fry to catch a salmon that will come back even bigger than before. I'll accept that. The resort business will probably see an unprecedented boom before long, though I don't know it would be enough to cover all your debt. However, Krasny-san, after all your failures in the past, who exactly do you expect to provide you with funding? At This isn't some small amount we're talking about. You'll need enough funding to fill the massive hole you've dug. What are you trying to say, Hideyoshi-san? Natsui-san, please don't get angry. We looked into this, too. We checked to see who might have provided Krausny-san with enough financing to support his recent large-scale projects, despite his string of failures. And we discovered that no such backer exists. Oh. So where's he getting the money from? Ooh, this is getting... Is he embezzling from the gold of the grandfather? Does he know where the gold exists? As we discovered, there's no such backer exists. The iron rule of the money roulette is that you bet against the loser. Ironically, you are a fairly well-known loser in this field. It's true that prosperous times are about to come, but when we look for people who consider that enough to overlook your string of failures, and also had enough for investment, we found no candidates. So the big question now is where you got that money from. Isn't this intriguing? And, dear, how long do you plan to let this ridiculous remark stand? Sit down, Natsui-san. Let's cut to the point. Aniki, you've been diverting Dad's private funds for your own business. There's pretty much no room for doubt. If you think we made some kind of mistake, please feel free to explain. Rudolph, don't call it diverting funds. This is embezzlement, plain and simple. A huge crime that could be criminally persecuted. That sort of rudeness cannot be tolerated. How can you face the successor to the Yushomiya head family and level these absurd accusations? They aren't absurd, they're right on the mark. I'm sure he'd like to somehow make his business succeed and recover his losses, but his debts keep getting bigger. He's just trying to cover up the failure of one gamble after making an even bigger one. It's only natural he'd try to grab any source of funding close at hand. Let me be frank, Nisan. What you are doing is embezzlement. You're betraying Father. You know that we have the court settle this after it's all over, right? Do you think this kind of person has any right to call himself the successor of the Hishoromiya head family? All the... You dare to claim he has betrayed the family head? You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of... Okay. You no longer have the right to straddle the threshold of the glorious Yoroshimiya family. Leave this place at once. Now. Get out. Natsui, who had already reached the limits of her anger, shouted at Eva in a rage. She did an alternative pointed at Eva, the hallway demanding that she leave. Eva took out a folding fan and fanned it herself, glaring maliciously at Natsui as though silently daring her to repeat what she said. However, her mouth was still smiling, curved in the shape of a crescent moon. In that unpleasant silence, Rosa gulped. Hey, Natsui-ni-san. To whom do you think you are speaking in such a tone? I'm speaking to the exceedingly rude sister of my husband. As the person in charge of the main family's kitchen, I cannot overlook any more of this. In charge of the kitchen? Be silent, lowly maidservant! Eva folded the fan with a snap and rose to her feet energetically. Compared to the elegance and playfulness she had shown until a few seconds ago, she was now unimaginably aggressive. How foolish! You stand down! Before Eva of the Yorishima family. You tell me to stand down? Me, Yoroshiya Eva, the third ranked in the Yoroshiya family hierarchy, and the one to sit on the left shoulder of the head? Know your place! And then look at your shabby stuff in the mirror. Where is the symbol of the wing on your clothes? Where are you permitted to wear the one-winged angel? Aren't you nothing more than a borrowed womb to house the next successor to the Yoroshiya family? Understand your place, you common housemaid! Ava's face twisted hideously as the word gouged at Natsui's heart like talons, retching at it. There were 100 ways Natsui wanted to respond. However, her anger and sorrow crushed her throat, and none of those words managed to make it to her mouth. Her anger had nowhere to go, except by a single hot tear that slowly dripped down. What's wrong? If you have something to say, please do so. Come on. Ava's face threw with a provocative gaze. However, Natsui could do nothing but tremble, her clenched fists quivering. Kraus silently broke the powder keg tension. Natsui, leave your seat. You should go cool your head. What? Natsui, resenting the fact that her husband had not come to her aid, shifted the focus of her attack. Dear, don't you understand what you're saying about you? These people are basically calling you a traitor to father. They are making light of the fact that we protect the glory of the Oshimiya family, even though we are constantly expending every effort to earn the glory from father. They trample all over that underfoot of their hatred rambling. And you don't even try to fight back? Why? I'm only standing up for us because you won't, and you've been putting the entire burden on me for some time now. And now you tell me to go cool my head? It's always me. Even though I always considered this family's affairs so seriously, you've... Natsui is already unable to hide her tears. She flew from the room in that state. After all that remained was a somewhat embarrassed mood about the parlor. When the sounds of footsteps grew distant and silence returned, Kraus shrugged his shoulders slightly. I apologize for my wife. She has always been bad at controlling her emotions. It's even more rough for me. If that's what's been managing your household, you must suffer to no end, Nisan. Madame, it's nothing. Leave me be. Natsui flew into her room and threw herself into the bed, lamenting. Those heart-wrenching sobs reached Kumasawa in the hallway. Poor Madame Natsui. There's a deep enmity between her and Eva-sama. Explaining their relationship would be very trying for me as a woman. The Yoroshiya family holds blood in high regard, but if a woman marries and leaves the family, they're normally removed from the family register. Thus, under normal circumstances, Eva-sama should have been removed when she married Hideyoshi-sama. However, there's no one deserving of blame in this matter. The madam certainly bears no guilt. There's nothing to call it other than the whim of God. Kraus-sama and Natsui-sama were not blessed with children for some time. After all, this is a male-dominated Yorishima family. A wife is merely a tool to create an heir. If such a wife cannot fulfill her only duty, she will not be treated as a human. It pains me to remember how the master tortured Madame during that time. Back then, a wedding between Eva-sama and Hideyoshi-sama was being discussed. Eva-sama was sly. Taking advantage of Madame's inability to become pregnant, she gained the favor of the master. She inspired him to allow her to marry and give birth to a successor himself, making sure to avoid transferring her name out of the Hiroshima register. There was a vast difference in the Hiroshima hierarchy between Madame, who married into the Hiroshima family, and who was treated like an outsider, and Eva-sama, who was related to family by blood, and whose husband took on the Hiroshima name. Furthermore, Eva-san actually gave first. Sorry, it's just a lot. It's a lot of talking. I want to keep going, but geez, this is it. It doesn't go on for a while. Whew. Furthermore, Ava-sama actually gave birth first, and to a boy. As for how much weaker Madame's position was from the Ava-sama's, well, I believe you could see for yourself. I'm sure Madame is tormented by the thought that even if she'd gotten pregnant earlier, the master wouldn't have accepted Ava-sama's request to keep her last name after marriage. And Ava-sama wouldn't have permitted to act as arrogantly as she did today. However, that was not Madame's fault. All the blame lies with God's whims, and the stork that delivers Jessica's late. Even so, Madame wouldn't allow herself to see things this way. She probably can't help but cry bitter tears as the woman, at her inability to carry out the duties expected of a wife. Oh, how sad. I cannot do anything except watch over her from the shadows. God, this game. You really get into like how the heads of like how these different characters feel, and they really build up the I don't know how to, it's hard to explain. They really know how to build up the intensity by making you care about these characters that because they've all got problems. I know that sounds a little fucked up to say, but really it is like as we go through this, you're gonna start noticing that a lot of this is internal trauma that has existed for a while. We crossed the hall again on the way to the entrance. As we did, we once again spotted the witch's portrait. However, spotted is probably not the best word to describe the experience. It was more like our eyes were inexorably drawn to it. That woman's eyes, that sage-like glamour, definitely had the power to make those who viewed it stand rooted to the spot. So this is the witch, Beatrice. I wonder if that story's true. Oh? Battler doesn't believe? Back when we had asked what the picture was, the first person to tell him had been Maria. Therefore, when Battler showed signs of doubt, Maria must have felt that Battler didn't have faith in her. Of course, that wasn't what Battler meant. Maria ran up to the portrait and began banging on the plate hanging below it. Before the title of the portrait was written there. Maybe the title of the portrait was written there. Maria was trying to prove that she wasn't lying, ostensibly continued to hit the plate. Oh, I love this piece in particular. It's so good. Maria tried to prove that she wasn't lying, ostensibly continued to hit the plate. Oh, sorry about that. It's not like I doubt anything you said, Maria. Ooh, Battler believes. Ooh. When he patted Maria's head and apologized, she seemed to accept it, sticking her chest and proudly oohing. What's this? My beloved witch Beatrice. Behold the sweet fish river. What's this weird, huge epitaph? The plate did have the title of a portrait written on it, but it was much too big to contain only that. Beneath the title would appear to be a long epitaph. If you just skimmed over it, several unnerving words would jump out at you. Incredible, isn't it? My grandfather had that made. Pretty deep, huh? Ooh, I know. It's the place where the gold's hidden. Story about the Hiroshima family's hidden gold? Oh, there's another thing I remember from long ago. Hold on, Anaki, is this for real? Grandfather had made this, but he never said anything about this picture or the epitaph. Even so, amongst the family, It is so often whispered that it indicates the location of grandfather's hidden gold, and that he would relinquish the inheritance and gold to the person who solves the riddle. Ooh, I heard that too, I heard that too. Lots and lots of gold. Something like that. Something like 10 metric tons of gold bars. I think it's fake though. Still, you read about it in an epitaph like this, it almost seems real. I think I almost explained I already explained grandfather's upbringing, but let me also mention the Hiroshima family's legend of the gold. Grandfather succeeded the Hiroshima family after it was destroyed the Great Kanto earthquake, and by successfully riding the stormy seas after the war, he managed to accumulate great wealth. That much of the story, everyone knows. However, this is where the strange part begins. Part of it involves grandfather's black magic obsession, so its credibility is extremely low, but, well, wait until the end before you doubt and make fun of it. After the war, grandfather correctly predicted the future would hold and went in a huge gamble, accumulating a vast store of wealth. But there's a mysterious legend about how he gained that initial funding. Grandfather came from a branch family and had no connection to the business world or the financial world. Even though he later built connections with the occupying forces, he supposedly started as a nameless person who hadn't gained anyone's trust. It takes trust to gain money. And there's no way anyone would lend money to someone they didn't trust. How did grandfather, who had no reputation at all, manage to obtain the first vast chunk of funds? When asked that question, grandfather supposedly answered like this. On a certain day, I encountered the golden witch Beatrice. Grandfather then went on and on about continuing his research into alchemy and for techniques for summoning demons in order to become a great magician. And the entity summoned as a result of the demon culling ceremony was the golden witch Beatrice. He then apparently made contact by which he would receive fortune and honor in exchange for his very soul. The witch then granted grandfather 10 tons of gold. Grandfather used this gold as collateral to prepare a vast quantity of funds, which he then used to multiply his wealth many times over and revive the Hiroshima family. It seems this story is so old that our parents were told it as they were still children. So back then, when our parents were young, they explored this island in all sorts of ways, believing that the gold grandfather had received from the witch might be hidden somewhere. However, since the danger of them getting lost in the Forbidden Forest, grandmother began to spread the story that a witch lived in the forest and approaching it was forbidden. I remember the old story. When we were little, we all went over the island searching for the treasure after our parents told us about it. Didn't we get lost in the forest once and started crying until some servant found us? Our parents got so mad. Dang, that takes me back. We sure were idiots, weren't we? After all, grandfather only bought this island after using those funds to get rich, right? That means he must have had the gold before coming here. There's no way the gold's on this island. That's not necessarily so. Maybe the gold was hidden on the island from the beginning, and he bought the whole island just assured that that would be his and his alone. There'd be a whole 10 metric tons of it, right? It seems more realistic that he tried to secure the place where it was hidden rather than try to move it at all. The epitaph was made 2 years ago, since grandfather wrote it himself. Yeah, it does make the legend of the gold seem more believable. The so-called witch's gold that revived the Hiroshima family weighed 10 tons. Maybe that's sleeping somewhere, ready to be turned over to who can solve grandfather's riddle. Maybe that's why he did it. I guess that sounds like grandfather's style or something. If it's true, that's pretty incredible. The epitaph's carving into the plate was pretty mysterious, with something like a poem or song written on it. The text was incredibly disturbing, filled with signs of grandfather's black magic hobby. Its contents was truly bad taste. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stop for right now. I have something to do real quick, but I will be back in just a little bit, and we'll play more of this.